All right, here we go. Recording is on. Here we are back on our usual Sunday casual on the Rising Phoenix, the podcast on human design, talking and focusing on 2027, what is coming here on Earth. A podcast animate with myself, Benjamin Torre, and we have the pleasure to have the amazing Tom Pfeiffer with us. Tom, who spent almost 28 years in design, 29 years. Tom, you becoming a dinosaur in human design, and you spent half of your life with Ross. So what a pleasure to having you on board with us. A six-line podcast, a six-line perspective on the world, as we are almost all of here, 62 people, members of the Hub 27. So it is really a good pleasure to start our Sunday with all of you. Tom, how are you doing today?
I'm well, Ben, and who are you calling Gramps, sonny boy?
Yeah. Oh, it's always really nice having you here. We're really having a good time, really having a good time on this podcast. And today, we're really having a special day because I want to take the time to answer a lot of questions from all the guests that we are having in the hub, and also, people in on YouTube. So I'm very grateful for all of you being here on the Hub 27, commenting, leaving questions on YouTube, being present. It really makes a good dynamic. We love giving back, we love giving, and it's also really nice when we have an exchange of you, giving your time, your energy to us in this podcast. So this is amazing. And a lot of the questions today are mostly related on the conditioning, how we can decondition ourselves, how the deconditioning process is happening, what we should expect from this deconditioning. I had a question from Lori who was, Ben, it's really good hearing from you talking about your deconditioning process, because nobody is talking about that, and it's really hard to find people who are vulnerable enough or open enough of talking on how it was the deconditioning and what happened for them, going through all this mind stuff, and the mind going crazy and trying to really pay attention on strategy and authority on a daily basis. So I would love to talk about that. And the reason why is, and I'm going to share my screen with you guys so we can take a look on this transit. The reason why, and I feel very inspired today, it look at the sun. The sun is in gate 27 today. The sun personality expression or life force, how the program is moving us, is influencing us, is penetrating us today, is through the gate 27 nourishment, the gate of caring. I mean, how, like, what a better, how do you say that in English? What a better day to talk about nourishment and how we can nourish ourselves, and paying attention. And for those of you who guys have been taking classes with me, you know that I always mention the four basics. And the first one is, who do you listen to? Do you listen the mind? Do you listen your authority? And that's part of nourishing and caring ourselves. How do we want to nourish ourselves? And look at this. I mean, I'm so amazed on the transit today. Fourth line, generosity, the natural sharing of attain abundance. And this is here the power and strength to share generously. So again, thank you so much, all of you. We're almost like 15 of us today showing up. It's amazing. So grateful having all of you in the hub. And that's going to be a very casual Sunday, a good study group. Then I will give a voice to everyone to unmute yourself, guys, to share your experience, your comments, your questions. This is how it works in the hub. So again, welcome back here. And Tom, please, if you have anything to say, let's start, and then we can take our time slowly to go into those questions. What happened during the deconditioning process? What was your experience, Tom, the first couple of years? How was it? What did the mind say to you? So we can just open the topic and let's dive into it.
Well, 27th hexagram certainly is about nourishment. It's
Mhm.
about who to get nourished. I mean, there's sharing that makes good sense, and then there's indiscriminate sharing. So, as both sides of that, it's not fixed one way or the other. So we can certainly go with both sides of that. As yesterday, when we briefly discussed the transits, there are no life channels at the moment. Okay,
Mhm.
so when you're looking at a channel, you're always looking at the collective conditioning. When you don't have channels, or when you have hanging gates, you can look at very personal conditioning by the transits, and how the transits are going to affect you very personally. Like me, I have the 50th hexagram. I do not have the 27. So today I have the entire channel of nourishment. And I'm definitely looking at what I do with my time. Bear in mind, I also have the 5 and the 15 is there. So I'm looking at my timing, my rhythm. Am I being excessive? Am I being conservative? Am I being balanced in terms of timing? There was another channel somewhere I have. Oh yeah, the 1949 sensitivity. That's a big one for me right now. I don't have the 19. So, when we talk about this stuff collectively, it is collective. If you really want to see how the transits affect you, you go and look at it personally. You look and see what centers you have that you would not normally have. You look and see what channels you have that you would not normally have. And then to get very specific about that, go to the I Ching and read the specific lines. It'll give you very, very clear information about how you're being conditioned. Know that it's conditioning. It's not necessarily you. Don't try to make your decisions there. Just observe what you're feeling that you don't normally feel, and see how the program works. So that's the opening salvo. And not much more to say about it other than that. I like the idea that we are going to answer a lot of questions today. We're
Mhm.
going to give a
Mhm.
lot of people a lot of voice here. So many good
Mhm.
people have shown up. So we'll carry on.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Thank you for this introduction. I really like, I don't know how you guys respond to that, but I really like what Tom said. It's true. Most of the time we have channels in the transit. So we're looking at the collective on how, channel really impact the collective. But today we have a reflector day. As you can see, the whole transit is, I don't want to say empty, but I will say undefined. So we don't have defined centers. So it's really more personal. And if you want to have a good look at how the transit is impacting you today, simply look at, okay, do I have those harmonic gates? So, if you have the 48, well, look at how the 16 can impact you and influence you because it creates the whole channel. As Tom mentioned, I also have the gate 50 here. So the 27 has been here for a couple of times now because before being in the sun, I guess it was in the moon or it was in, we had a conjunction with Mercury not so far. So the 27 was here and it has been deeply conditioning me for the last 2 weeks and really paying attention on the value that I want to share, the value that I want to continue to support, the value that I want to continue to nourish. What is nourishing me actually? What do I want to care for? Do I want to care for, for the battlefield and continue to fight like an idiot? Or do I want to just, no, I don't want to be anymore in my mind and being fearful and being, with my shield and defensive, because it is a defense circuitry. But do I want to be defensive and reactive and impulsive? Or mostly, do I want to be more generous and open and more vulnerable? So that has been really for the last couple of weeks paying really attention. And think about it's coming out of the sacral. The sacral is our life force energy to what we respond to, but it's also what we feed ourselves with. We nourish ourselves. So that's a way to take a look at the transit, as Tom mentioned. I really like that. I know I have the gate 41, the start cotton, the fantasy, and I've been deeply conditioned with the 30. So lately, same, always looking for new feelings, new experience. At a moment, I'm like, I want to buy an RV. I want to live the van life, you know. So I'm looking at an RV and I'm like, wait a second, then is it like a new fancy, kinky fantasy that you have, or you know, it's really what you want? So it's very interesting to simply look at, okay, is any harmony gates in the transit right now that is hooking me up, you know, that is hooking me up with what is defined in my design? So then you can take a look and you can see where the conditioning is, you know. um, we Conditioning is not bad also, you know, bear in mind, please folks, conditioning isn't bad, it's just what it is. But always go back to strategy and authority. Don't take decision based on the conditioning, but we can take advantage of it. For example, as Tom said, you know, he has the 49 and the 19 is hooking his 49. So now he's very sensitive and he can pay more attention on things, or being more mindful of his rhythm, his timing. So conditioning can really, how can I say, maybe emphasize, you know, maybe increase our sense, or maybe, you know, allows us to be more sensitive on few things, different things, simply, you know, putting an emphasis on our behavior, on our nature, on, you know. So it's really good when we take a good how can I say, a good advantage on this transit conditioning. It's yeah, it's a good advantage. All right. What else? What else can we say? I think I just want to mostly like talk a little bit about that, because Lori, you know, she was asking me um, about my personal experience, and if you guys don't mind, I would love to share a little bit of this. So when design came to me in 2012, I find it really, really fascinating. I was fascinated with, you know, the beauty of this system. I was excited. And I guess, I suppose, like, you know, most of the folk out there on YouTube or out there on you know, Instagram, the so-called influencer, I always saw potential of making money. That was, you know, I'm gonna be honest, I was a third line at this time. I was 25 years old. I was still in my first phase as a 6'2". So I saw straight the potential of, wow, that's cool, I can teach that to people. You see the hypocrisy here of the sixth line, you know, who is not even living it and already looking to teach that to others. And but quickly I realized, well, first, I don't speak English. Nothing is available in French. So, okay, I'm just gonna go slowly with this. And I was deeply, deeply caught up into the manifesto propaganda. I was deeply caught up into Tony Robbins, into the law of attraction, into manifesting my dream, you know, all those kind of things. Not saying that it is bad, having dreams. No, at all. It is really important. But I was really into the propaganda of initiating. I have to go out and put myself and make things happen for myself and make it work, and initiate, and I need to chase it, you know, and all of that. So I was like, design is nice, but I don't like the idea of waiting to respond. What do you mean? You know, it was like, what do you mean I need to wait? No, I'm not gonna wait. I'm not gonna do that. So the first year I kind of, yeah, let design on the side. And I observed it, and I was like talking about it. I was excited. I was trying to tell everyone about design, and mostly my family and my friends, but absolutely not living it, absolutely not understanding, okay, what does it mean to be a generator? And after a year, I got a lot of frustration, really a lot of frustration, and my mind was completely rejecting the information. Okay, fuck this shit, I'm not gonna make any money with that. I don't even know how I can survive. You know, if I sit here and I wait, nothing gonna happen, nothing will come to me, but this is rubbish. I don't like it, you know. And I was really into this ego trip of, you know, believing that I need to work hard. I just need to go out and make things happen. I was really into this ego trip. I want this, I want that, I want to make those millions, I want to make that, I want to, whatever the case was, I was really in this ego trip, trying to chase everything. And the more I was doing that, the more I was meeting resistance. Resistance, resistance, resistance. It didn't work. It was hard. I was just to the point, I remember I broke my ankle. I broke my ankle, I sprained my wrist, I had many different disease and things. Just resist and frustration. The frustration as a generator, I was frustrated. But because I'm a very optimist person, I was like, okay, well, let's let the deny, the open solar plexus, avoiding confrontation and truth from the open solar plexus, or even a defined solar plexus, the not self team, avoiding confrontation and truth. So I was simply really avoiding that about myself until I reached the point 2015, moving to London, England, end up almost homeless, so struggling with everything. And then I started slowly to pay attention a little bit more about design, 2016. So it took me years and years to really pay attention of, okay, there's no choice here. I need to stop running like a chicken with my head cut off, like an idiot. I need to slow down. Massive breakup with my girlfriend, a lot of, pain in my heart, a lot of suffering, a lot of completely homeless, not knowing where to go, not knowing what to do, broke as fuck, reaching the bottom, the classic change. And then I started slowly to pay attention, and the deconditioning since 2016 that I started classes with the school, and 2017, and paying more attention of what it means to be a generator, what it means to nourish myself, actually, what it means to sit here and wait and respond. Because my mind thought it was waiting and doing nothing. When we do reading for generators or manifesting generators, and we say, okay, you have to wait to respond. Most of us, what we hear is stop. We hear stop. We hear you need to stop, and that's it. That's what we hear, but that's what the mind hear. The mind is like, oh my God, I need to stop. But if you look at the fifth hexagram, what does the fifth hexagram says? Waiting, the gate of fixed pattern. But look at here, waiting as an active state of awareness. For those of you who practice yoga, when you do yoga and you do the tree pose, it looks like you're doing nothing, right? It looks like you're not moving, but every single one muscle are engaged. And that's where slowly I'm starting to find the beauty in life. That's where slowly I'm starting to realize, wait a second, life isn't moralistic. It really isn't. Life is just what it is. Tom always say, think about the word justice. It just is. And waiting is a really, really, really hard thing to do. And it is actually doing something. It is an active state of awareness. I am aware of what is around me. And instead of being reactive, I'm going to wait and respond. I'm going to claim back my power. All those gurus that are trying to sell you seminars on how you can claim back your power and how you can be powerful and blah, blah, blah. Well, it's very easy. Sit here and wait. And you are in a position of power. Because as a generator, as long as you initiate, your aura cannot protect you. But at the moment you sit and you wait, you are in position of power. Because you have the possibility to respond with your sacral, and you can see what's correct for you. So that was my experience with deconditioning. It was really hard. My mind hated it. I was terrified for my survival. I was terrified of not making money, of not knowing what to do. That was the biggest part. My open ajna was terrified of not knowing what to do or what to say. I was terrified of being stupid. I was terrified of just not knowing where to go, not knowing what to do, terrified, because I was all into this ego trip, but people are looking at me and I need to be certain. I need to pretend that I know what I'm doing with my life. Yeah, the ego trip. And it's okay. I mean, it's okay. So that was my experience. I hope it is helpful. I hope it's relevant for you and you can learn things. Lori, you here? Does he answer your question? Is it relevant for you? Is anything you would like to say about that or ask question about that?
No, it's okay. It's okay. I don't have question, and it's really clear. And thank you because he helped me a lot. So yeah, it's cool. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Tom, anything you would like to share about your experience all over the year? How have you been finding that?
Very relatable. Very relatable. When I first encountered design, I went down to New Mexico to take a class after I got a reading, and I was going to save the world.
Yeah.
And Ross said, "Whoa, Sheriff, get off your horse and walk for a while. Go sit in the rocking chair, spit in your spittoon. Things are not going to happen as quick as you think they are." And when you look at it, that we were referred to by our maker as human beings. We even refer to ourselves as human beings, and yet we've turned ourselves into human doings. It's all manifestor propaganda. I mean, it's as evident as the day is long. We think we're all supposed to initiate things, make it happen, get out there and get it. If you want it, you better go get it.
Mhm.
Well, it just doesn't work that way. Okay, it just doesn't work that way. And I so relate to the idea that it is difficult to learn patience. We were not taught patience.
Mhm.
We were taught the early bird gets the worm. My mama told me, yeah, but worms is something you want to avoid. So, I mean, there's a lot of jokes in all of this stuff. And we take everything so damn seriously. We think everything's on our shoulders. We think we are responsible for everything. We're not. We're
Mhm.
not. We're not. Okay, we can become a lot more responsible by being who we actually are. Even manifestors, 7, 8, 9% of the population, half of them are emotional. And they have to wait for clarity before they can manifest anything other than chaos, right? So
Mhm.
97% of humanity has some form of waiting. It's why we're called beings, human beings. It's not about what you do, it's about who are you? What do you be? What is it that you're trying to make happen? So this valuation, we know we're talking about nourishment and value and all that right now, but it's all shifting. It's all shifting. The values, we turned what we have, we turned currency, we turned all this monetary stuff into our deity. It's a temporary situation, boys and girls. We're in the 54th evolutionary step. Another aspect of design that not many people know about is the 64 evolutionary steps. We're in the 54 right now. That's the marrying maiden, the gate of ambition. Look at the world. It's all about what you make, what you have, blah, blah, blah. And what's the next step? The next step is a question of spirit.
Mhm.
This is, you can see, we're going back and forth between the mundane and the mystical and spiritual, blah, blah, blah. How do we balance these things? Okay. When the truth of the matter is, we're really more spiritual beings having a temporary, by design, physical experience. We're not physical beings that may or may not choose a spiritual life or a mystical life, whatever, however and we're not talking religion here. Religion
Mhm.
is just belief systems, and that causes more battlefields than anything else. Okay. So we're talking about value. What do we actually value? What do we really want to feed? What do we want to pour water on? That's what we're getting clear about right now. The world is pretty crazy in this competitive state. So
Mhm.
always, and it's like the same thing with emotions. We think of emotions as people flying off the handle. That's because they're not clear emotionally. What's
Mhm.
coming in 2027 will be an emotional awareness that operates through clarity. We've never seen that.
Mhm.
You can't imagine how different this world is going to be, and it's going to happen quickly.
Mhm. Mhm.
So at any rate, that's all I really have to say about all of this. I hope that Ben, your experience was very similar to mine. And I think everybody that gets into design, there's a resistance to it because we have so much training for so long that has nothing to do with what's coming. Nothing.
I think, you know, the mind is really is getting really agitated. You know, the first couple of years when you come into design, you have this first year where you can tell it's a huge fight. It's a huge fight because for the first time ever, when you really come into design, you have something that is logical and practical, and you can straight out of the door start to experiment. You can straight like apply it by living out the strategy and the authority. So it's kind of like punching in the face the mind and telling him, hey, yo, chill the fuck out, you know? And when you go to all those seminars and you practice yoga and you do the meditation, you know, and all those things, new age spirituality, whatever the case is, you don't really have a practical thing that you can experiment. So the mind is still here. He doesn't feel so threatened. He's kind of like laughing at you. Oh, you're trying all those spiritual woo-woo. Well, I'm still here in control. You know? So the mind is still here. He's like, yeah. But at the moment you go in human design, the mind is not yeah anymore. He's like, oh, he's really freaking out. Because he's like, oh my God, Ben, find a remedy. He's fucking me around, you know? That is what is happening. So the mind is getting really agitated, and he's trying everything in his power to make you miserable. And the way he's doing it, it's by using comparison. I mean, I compare myself so much. It was ridiculous. At the beginning, the mind was like, yeah, but look at him. He's younger than you and he has already what you want. And then he was like, and wait a second, what about that? You know, my mind was like, what about doing this? And what about doing that? No, let's try this. Let's take this 5,000 seminar coaching. Oh, let's try to do this. No, let's go there. You know, that was my mind. It was insane. Using comparison to stay in control, you know, to try to pull me out of the path that I choose, that was to know I want to leave out strategy and authority. And Ross said it takes 7 years. The voice said it takes 7 years. So imagine when I had my first reading, and then I had my second reading, and I started classes, and my teacher, Lavina, she was like, this is a 7-year process. I was like, oh boy, here we are again. This 7 years thing that I don't like. I hate that. I hate hearing it takes 7 years. I want to be able right now. You know, right now I want to go out and teach everyone. You know, right now I want to be satisfied. You know that. And then you can see all those people out there, you know, on YouTube, on everything, and they're all teaching you design. But the truth is, it never ever went through a deconditioning. Still the mind that is here, and Laurie and other things. When I really went into design and I started the deconditioning, I hated it. I was like, I don't give a fuck about design. I don't like that. I don't want to teach it. I don't want to share it to people. Leave me alone. I was so miserable, so in pain. I was like, leave me alone. So I was personal trainer. People were like, hey, you do design? You do are you Ben Life Changer? When I lived in London, you know, they were coming to me at the gym at Equinox, you know, this very famous fancy gym. Everyone started to call me Ben Life Changer. I was like, I'm not. Don't call me like that. And I was like, yeah, are you the Frenchman? I was like, yeah. Oh, I heard about design. You do this? I was like, no. Here's the book. Do by yourself. But I'm not a saver. You know, I was really scared of sharing this to the world because I was like, whoa, wait a second. They're going to think I'm crazy, you know? So I really refused the information for quite a long time. And then finally, when I started to feel comfortable talking about design and having results, that I was able to tell people, hey, look, this is what I've been doing for the last 2 years. It works. then are starting to be more comfortable of sharing and to relate with the transit of the day. So that's why I draw here to pay attention. But look, this is the sun here. Okay, so we have the sun, the gate 27. And how do we implement the sun? How do we ground the sun? How do we live out the energy of the sun? Is through the earth. And the earth is grounding and balancing. So look at how can we ground and implement the energy of nourishing ourselves, of taking care of ourselves during this transit. So those 5-6 days that the 27 is here is through the earth. And what is the earth? The preponderance of the grid, the gate of the game player, which is basically here paying, knowing what is worth fighting for. This is the fear of not living a life that is worth living. This is the fear of death, but dying before fulfilling our purpose. That's what this gate is all about. So for the one who can remain still, quiet, and wait to respond, we're gonna have the ability to pay attention to what is worth fighting for, and we have a completely open ego, open heart center. So for those of you who are undefined ego, you have this ability to really know with wisdom. Wait a second, what is worth fighting for? Is this things worth fighting for? Wasting my time, putting all of my energy? Do I really need to prove all of that? No, I don't. I don't need to prove all those things. So see how transit can be very powerful today and for the next few days before we move actually. What's coming next after the 27? Let's put the mandala and look what is coming next. Oh,
24.
yes, Tom, you're right. The 24.
Yep.
The return. The return to what? Inner truth. Inner truth, right? Christine, you wanted to say something? No?
Oh, yeah. I actually had a question about the deconditioning process.
Yes.
And this is probably going to reveal some of my ego, but I don't think it's a question I think it's worth.
Yeah, totally. There's no stupid question here. So please, please.
Yeah. Because I definitely come from performance manifestor background and I'm working on all that. And but I was wondering, okay, Rod talks about 7 years, the deconditioning process. Well, for me personally, my deconditioning process began in 2016. I did some EMDR and some massive, like the blinders came off and I've been doing some massive shift transformation work. But does that count towards the deconditioning process, or is it when I discovered human design? Because a lot of it relates to what I'm finding here.
It's a very, very good question, actually, because a lot of people are like, when they discover design, most of the time, it's not the first time they hear about personal development. They have been usually working on themselves for a couple of years before. So they are like, yeah, but it's been 5 years I'm working on myself. How come? How dare you telling me I'm starting ground zero? It can be painful for the ego, right? For the self-esteem.
Yeah, definitely.
So I want to say yes, and I want to say no. I want to say no in a way that, oh, you already have been paying attention on yourself. You already have been working on yourself. You already have been doing things to what? Remember, what is the first main goal? And that's in the Gene audio. When you guys do Rev ABC class with me, we talk about that. And unconsciously, it's your goal anyway, even if you're not aware, but it's to feel good. Why are we here? It's because we want to feel good. It doesn't matter if at the end of the day we survive and we reach as fuck if we feel like shit. Right? So unconsciously, what we want is to feel good. So you have been already starting the machine of feeling good. And Zen design is another tool that can help you to have maybe a better understanding on how you can do the deconditioning. And if you look at the 7 years, but this is my personal perspective on the 7 years, what I experienced, it was the first year, it's the battlefield. The first year, it's a huge fight between me and the mind, and see who is going to win. If I succeed for a year to be vigilant and pay attention on the mind lose huge control. Then from the end of the first year to the top of the third year, so the first 3 years, it's really the mind. It's a mind fight. And after the third year, your mind starts to settle. And instead of being interested of what is outside, the mind starts to be interested in what is inside. So when you start to respond to things, what I find out is that instead of being, oh, really? Oh, no, but what about that? No, 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 let's do this. You know, my mind, now when I respond, my mind is like, oh, really? You want to do this? Okay. You know, he's interested in discovering me. And then the next step was 5 years. 5 years was really a huge fear of dying, a huge fear of not knowing, the unknown. You know, the unknown of, if I say to these things, I don't know, I don't have the control on the situation. I don't know how I'm gonna be able to control the situation. So that was a lot of control for 5 years. So at the 5 years, like, let's say, you know, someone was like, oh, Ben, would you like to move to Colorado, for example, 2 years ago? You know, 2 years ago, like, do you want to move to Colorado? I was like, oh my God, no, I know nobody. I know no one there. And that's when I met Tom, you know? And this year, it's the end of my 8 year. So it's very chill. It's very, very chill. You know, but I will break down, you know, the 7 years like that. Tom, yes, you want to say something? It doesn't make sense, Christine? Can you see? So in some way, it's yes and no. Yes and no, you know. Yes, because obviously you work on yourself before. And no, because you didn't know design, so you didn't have the same awareness that you're gonna have working with design, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Tom, yes, please.
I would like to expand on that question. What a great question, Christine.
Yeah.
And exposing one's ego. We do that on a daily basis. That's as common as mud. Okay, but the thing to understand is that several things are going on here, and it's not all on our shoulders. We're not seven-centered beings anymore. That wasn't our idea. That was somebody way above and beyond our comprehension who came up with, well, all of a sudden we have to have a solar plexus, you know? That wasn't something you and I decided on. So a good portion of this is happening for us. It's given to us. Our problem is that we're not receptive to it because we're so conditioned to what has been. Okay, but we are, after all, an evolutionary species, right? Can't get somewhere else if you're not willing to leave where you're at. Okay, so there's an internal and an external situation going on here. The external is beyond our control. I hate to inform you, folks. No matter how much you try to control things, you are in control of absolutely nothing. Learn how to control yourself. If you can control yourself, you're contributing, okay? What is it? Self-mastery. Before you try to master the universe, perhaps you should just master yourself, okay? So human design is useful in understanding who you are. If it's coming from the outside, we know that's conditioning. Is it good? Is it bad? We don't know that. How do we determine that? By making our own decision for ourselves. Okay, so the idea of knowing who you are. Why is it a 7-year process? Because if I speak to you today, and then I speak to you 7 years from now, every single cell in your entire body will have replaced itself, except for a handful of them in your liver. That's the identity. Now think about it. We know from the gates in there's the vessel of love and there's the cross of the Sphinx, right? Okay, so the Sphinx is all about direction and love is the direction. That's the liver. Funny they call it a liver. You know what they say about liver? Good liver good life. Bad liver, bad life. No liver, no life. Funny, they call it a liver. So that's why it's a 7-year process. It takes that much time to cleanse your, and by the way, we're talking about 7 years of vigilance. And as is well demonstrated by Ben, I could just as easily well demonstrate it. We're not vigilant those first 7 years. Very few people get out from under all of that conditioning within 7 years, because we're still going back and forth about it. You know, we're still going, is it a hell yes or is it a hell no? Is it a hell yes? Is it a hell no? That's the noise in the mind. Yeah. Remember, it's not Hinduism. We're not saying no mind. We're saying noisy mind's not useful. Okay. Connect the mind to the heart, get a wholehearted situation going, different thing happens. That's why solar plexus is coming in. That wasn't our idea. We didn't decide we needed a solar plex. Somebody higher up decided. That's what's given to us. All we have to do is be receptive to it. Now look at the variables, and don't take this as concrete, okay? This is not etched in granite. The more receptive you are, the more you're a part of the future. And people say, oh my God, I'm totally strategic. That's fine. You're going to be incredibly strategic in presenting the new way to the strategics. You still speak their language, so you'll be able to do that. There's value in it. It's not like anything that's been in the past was bad. It's just over. It's time to move along to a different process. And what's going to cause that? The 28 hexagram. We're talking about what to nourish, and it's grounded through the 28 hexagram. What is that? Am I nourishing something purposeful? Is there value in it? Is it going to make a life worth living? What human being doesn't want a purpose? So at any rate, I think Ben and I have provoked the heck out of you, and I want more questions, and I want more. We will, and somebody else can pipe in with their answer as well. We're not the only ones with answers. There's no one up, one down here. Well, at any rate, thank you for a very great question, Christine.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, thank you, Christine. One thing that you say, Tom, actually, this is really interesting, because the liver, the G center. This is our G center, the geometry, identity, love, direction. So this is the biological correlation with the liver, right? When you guys do the class, the Living Your Design, we talk about that. And what am I dealing with at the moment? And I'm in my 7 years of vigilance. I'm dealing with my liver. I'm dealing with eczema problems, skin problems, removing toxins out of the liver. Isn't it interesting? Just in thinking of that. But I met design in 2012. So it's almost 10 years. But I haven't been vigilant for 10 years. No, the first 3-4 years was completely rejecting. I was one and another person on YouTube trying to sell you design, trying to make a living. I'm going to be a coach. I don't even know how to coach myself, but let me be a coach, Maybe that's why I'm so rejecting the idea of being a coach today, because I'm still feeling the hypocrisy with myself years ago. And as a yes, Christy, please.
Okay, it's crazy because I actually had the exact same question as Christine. That's so funny. I think the clarity that I got, because like 2020 was when I got introduced, so it's been not quite a year. And I just kind of sat back after last week, and it's so funny when Tom said, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. Exactly. And I literally used that this week, and like things are just not falling, they're ending. And I'm like super grateful, because I'm like, yeah, that's a hell no. And then the best was after I made the decision, mostly out of love and light, then something came in that was like, oh my gosh, I was almost laughing about it, because I'm like, it's like I knew who I was inside, but my mind would pull me away, and I'd abandon myself all the time. And so I've been on a personal growth journey for years. But the challenge was I felt like there wasn't something genuine in me enough. Like, well, if these people are so successful and, measure success, I would abandon who I was, adopt their principles, and then, yeah, I'd get sick or whatever, you know? And so I was so grateful when I found human design, because it's like, I think I knew deep down when I would go to these things or be part of these, you know, organizations. I mean, that was kind of on me. No one was telling me I had to do this, right? But I think what was so beautiful about human design was it gave me the blueprint to literally, for the first time since I was probably a child, to live who I am. And, you know, maybe the greatest gift there is the next 7 years, I get to do that for myself, and I get to teach my kids that. And that's all that matters. Like, that's all I have to do. And so, yeah, I mean, I've lost a lot of friends in the last year. My business is gone. Who cares? You know, I married a man that's really good at making money. I don't need to make money. Come on, you know, and that's in his chart, which is so funny. I'm like, oh, that's where my ego had to check, because like I wanted to be the one doing it. And what I found is, as I've leaned into my design, and granted, I'm still like scratching the surface, but I have this piece of just enjoying the journey. Like, I'm not going to try to win human design. I'm not going to try to figure it all out. I'm probably more clueless today with it than I was when I first got introduced to it, because my mind is starting to decondition. And so I went through some, you know, a lot of darkness this last year, but like, I'm sitting here in my backyard and I'm like, I'm a softer person. I'm embracing my divine feminine more. I want to cook banana bread today. Like, a year ago would have been like, you don't have time for that. You need to get this stuff done. And that nourishes my home. And it's like, who knew not even a year into this, that I would enjoy boiling eggs? Like, come on. But that's where I'm at. And I just want to say how grateful I am to every single soul on this, because I literally look forward to this. This stuff is so amazing. So I know that the journey's just beginning, but for the first time in my life, I'm not going to have expectations on how long it's going to take me. I'm just going to live. I'm going to be that human being for the first time in a long time. So, Christine, thank you for catalyzing that, because you just really put it into perspective for me, and I'm really grateful for all the honesty. It's really beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That'll teach you to ask stupid questions, Christine.
Yeah. Wow, you guys are moving. You are almost moving me to tears. I mean, I'm being emotional and feeling so like, I'm so grateful. You know, it's because of you that it is all possible. I had this vision month ago of putting a hub together, or having something like sharing my passion of design, and you guys are making this possible. So thank you so much. I'm so grateful. It's amazing. Christy, amazing. Thank you.
It's funny. It's like we're all members of a secret society that we have no intention of keeping secret.
Yeah, exactly. You know, Tom, I mean, you know me, I've been a member, I was a member, I'm still a member of one of the secret society, that I'm less and less active, and I find more and more interest of being active here in the hub. That's what I create my own kind of society, you know, but this is exactly what it is. It doesn't have to be a secret anymore. We're all in the same direction here, and this is love, and I really like it. Kim said in the chat, relating to the same questions, I'm curious about the part age plays into that, especially as a 6'2". Kim, would you like to elaborate a little bit more your questions, or would you like to say?
Just a curiosity, because I hear this too, and they're like, "Oh, I'm pretty sure I'll be off the roof before then," and like, I think it's just interesting that I hear the same thing very often about, like, I've already done 35 years of work. There's no way it's going to be that. And so I'm just wondering, for the 6'2", especially, like, say they were doing human design in their 20s, 30s, and then that off the roof phase comes. I mean, there's a pretty big transition there, whether you've been doing it for 7 or 10. So I'm just kind of asking to bring that in there. In other words, let me try to be direct. Even if someone were practicing or living their design for 7, 8 years, then when they're 48 to 52, they're still going to get that other transition, but maybe they'll have the tools and understanding, and they'll have the strategy and authority so that it's not so intense.
Well, I'm mostly gonna let Tom speak on that because, you know, I'm only 33, 34, so I have no idea about this transition of the roof. But simply to just remind all of you, because I believe almost everyone here is a 6th line. We only have Julie as a 5-1, Josh 1-3, Cecile 1-3, but the rest of us are either 4-6 or 6-2. So we're all dealing with this 6th line. And Tom, so if you want to say something, but I guess 7 years is the cellular transformation. That's what it is for the 7 years. And for the 6th line, we have 3 big phases that are actually the voice said, or Ra was talking about, the new maturity as a human being. You know, before 1781, we were Homo sapiens, 7th center. The maturity was 15 years old, and everyone was dying around 30, 35 years old, right? When we became 9th center, Homo sapiens in transitus, after 1781, discovery of the planet Uranus, we became Uranian human being, 9th center. So the maturity is today at 40, and we live longer until 80, 90, because under the stress, but we are supposed, genetically designed to live at least 100, 150 years old. So to cycle about the 6th line is really how the first 30 years of our lives, we go into the trial and error, we discover what works and what doesn't. The second phase, we wade through, we retreat ourselves, we heal, we master a skill, we get maturity at 40, and then after 50, we re-engage with the world to finally be complete and enjoy life. And we're supposed to live until 100, 120 years. So we have another 60 years old living as ourselves, as complete and enjoying life. So Tom, please, you know, let me know what you know about that. But that's how I understand the transmission from the voice. And if it's correct for your question, if you answered the questions.
Huge discussion here, okay? The first thing we have to understand as 6th line beings, okay, is that we come into the world as 3 twos, not 6 twos. We go through the so-called trial and error process. Did you hear what I said? So-called trial and error process. We're used to people wagging their finger at us, blah, 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 okay? First thing I tell anybody with a 6 in their profile or a 3 in their profile is you have never, and you never will ever make a mistake in your life. You're not making mistakes. You're making discoveries, okay? And there's a long story I'll tell. You know, I think most people here have heard the story, but nonetheless, the point here being that you go through the process of discovery and you find out what does work and what doesn't work. That's not making mistakes. That's making discoveries, okay? And then you go up on and you know the beauty of the word pessimism after 30 years of life, okay? Ben knows it, it's fresh in his life, okay? He says, yeah, you know, but bottom line is and pessimism is an intelligent response to the fact that so much that you were told isn't true, isn't complete, and damn sure doesn't work. That's you thinking for yourself, okay? Going back to tie this into Christine's question, okay? Do you get credit for what you've done before design? Of course you do. That's what made you receptive to design. If you were a Neanderthal, you wouldn't be talking about design, nor would you be interested in design, okay? So as I said, some of this evolutionary stuff is unfolding. That's what we are. We are genetic unfolding, okay? The fact that we're 9-centered as opposed to 7-centered, go tell a guru in India that we got 9 centers. They'll say, when did that happen? They're not paying attention. Maybe a few of them are, but the general bunch of them not paying. Well, I don't know anything about any 8th and 9th chakra. Where did you get this phony information? Okay, they're not ready to let go of whatever it is they think they're doing. Okay, But the point here being that, yes, you definitely get credit for what you've done. It's why you're doing what you're doing now. Okay? So you've recognized something in human design, whether you're strategic or receptive, you recognize something in human design. Lovely little Christy, totally a strategic person. Look how open she is. Look what she's doing. Okay? So it's not a question of, good, bad. Nothing is good, bad. It's a question of what it is, and are you being that thing? Okay. So the things that caused you to make the decision to do your personal work before, I started doing that when I was 6 years old. I'm a quad right. I didn't even know what I was doing, but I was doing it. You see what I'm saying? So, you can't escape yourself. You can delay knowing yourself, but you damn sure can't escape who you are. We're not that good of an escape artist, okay? So the three-phase life that a six-line being goes through, bear in mind, where do we get a lot of information about that? From the 1-3s. It's not just 6-2s. It's 1-3s that are out there insecure, trying to establish a foundation. And as soon as they think they've got a foundation, they reach around in their back pocket and pull out a little jackhammer and start pounding away at the very foundation they spent years creating. Now, they don't want to crack the foundation. For them, joy wouldn't be if they cracked the foundation. It'd be when the jackhammer explodes. They say, this is solid. We can build here. Everybody has a contributing part. And this is when we come to recognize that this isn't a competition. This is a cooperation. Six-line beings would not have the view from the roof if the 1-3s and the 1-4s and the 2-4s and the 2-5s and all the way up weren't holding us up. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, anything that you do that brings you purpose, that you feel good about, as we say so often, do you feel good about the day at the end of the day? Or was it another day that escaped you in finding any purpose? What's the purpose? The purpose is direction. What's the direction? Look at the G center. This gives us language to know what it is. It's why at the end of every email you'll ever get from me, it says, if you're heading towards love, you're going the right way. Everything else is a detour of fear and illusion. Careful of those detours. Okay. That came to me way before I knew about design. Okay. Or in the very beginnings of when I knew about design. So yeah, we are 9-centered beings. We're Homo sapiens intransitus. There are genetic firings that are taking place. Do you want to be a part of the pasture? Do you want to be a part of the future? That's the only thing we have to decide. It's nice to be able to know who we are, to be able to make those decisions, and to have a strategy that we can overcome the mind's grip on us. Not to destroy the mind. We're not interested in the destruction of mind. We're interested in a mind that's quiet enough that we can actually make use of. So there's so much in that question. We could write encyclopedias to answer that question, but I hope that is a beginning to it. And ultimately, it's not for me or anybody else to answer that question for you. It's for you to answer that question for yourself, which you are in the process of doing. Thank God.
Yeah, beautiful.
Somebody else ask another dumb question.
Yeah. Nice. I would love to hear, I would love to invite Lola, hello lovely, if you want to speak, or Josh, Julie, Charlotte, if you guys have anything to say, questions or comments, observation, please feel free to unmute yourself and to simply come and share with us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to say right now, but I will when I do.
Okay, cool.
Thanks.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Hi.
Hey.
Thank you so much for having me on this call. It's really interesting to hear so specifically about a mode which just hold on. I really enjoyed hearing about the 7-year trajectory of like working on yourself and peeling back the layers, and how it really does take time. And even having something that's so mapped out and so specific, that the application of it is just so what's the word? It needs to be active, and I really like that. That's all. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, Tom, do you? Yeah, Christine.
Can I just sneak in a quick question?
Yes.
Okay, so when you mentioned about the transit today, and we said, you know, it's gate 27 in the sun. So when we're looking at transits, does the sun sort of set the tone for the day?
Yes, it's a very good question, and I don't know if we spoke about that in Rev ABC, but I guess so, or maybe I forget to mention. But when we look, no, I think we did. But when we look at all the planets, right? So we have here planetary imprints, blueprint, imprints, planetary. The sun, why we really focus attention on the sun, all of the planets are important, you know, of course, but the sun brings 70% of the neutrinos. The sun is 70% of the neutrinos. That's why we're focusing more, maybe attention in the sun, because it really set the tone of the transit. You know, the rest, yes, the rest is gonna bring flavor to the meal, but the main meal is the sun, which is 70%. So that's why when we look at our design, when you look at your charts, you want to look at your sun, because your sun is 70% of who you are. If I look at my sun, it's the gate 10, sixth line. The gate 10 is the behavior of the self, the sixth line is the role model. So the name of this gate is the role model. You know, so I'm looking at 70% of who I am, right? And that's what defines also our incarnation cross. So when you look at your incarnation cross, you look at the name, you look at your sun, and it gives you so much information of you, about yourself. Tom, yes.
If you want to know how important the sun is, imagine somebody turned it off. There wouldn't be anything. Nothing like us. There might be rocks running around in space, but nothing would be alive on them. The sun is the major conditioner. If it ever got turned off, you'd sure miss it.
I mean,
something to ponder.
Yeah, look at like Norway, North Russia, Swedish, Finnish people, Finland, you know, when during the winter times they don't have sun for month and month. Look at how many suicide is over there. They go crazy. And I know that I'm here in North Idaho. We had almost 3-4 months of winter without any sun. And I was going crazy.
You know what they say about people in Seattle? They don't die. They just mold or rust clear through and fall over. It never dries out up there, okay?
Yeah.
But, and there's a high rate of suicide. People go, oh, the sun's not even shining. They go jump off a bridge. Okay, but the sun, you know, the sun is so valuable. I mean, what would grow without light? Life is light. I mean, let's go to the mystical here for a moment. A spiritual being can't see your form any more than you can see it. What does it see when it looks at you? The quality of your light, because that's what you actually are. Yeah, okay. So, you know, I mean, and without light, why do we call it enlightenment? Why are we scared of the dark? You know, all these things. Okay. It's just fun to ponder, but you can see that every single question is connected to every single question. That's why we say there are no stupid questions. And exposing your ego, what a great thing to do.
Oh yeah. All right, maybe a little bit more. I have more energy for a little bit more before my throat starts to yell at me and ask for some rest. So I just want to grab your attention on, look, the transit just changed. So we have now the 5th line in the gate 27 and 28. So we can look at what the 5th line says. We had the 2nd line also in the moon with the 57. And then maybe we can have a look on Tuesday, the 27th Tuesday. It's when we have a change in the transit with the sun. So we will go into the gate 24 and the 44 on Earth. So we can take a little look on what is happening starting Tuesday. And then I guess that will be enough for today. That will be a good transit report. Yes, Christine.
Just super tactical question.
Yeah.
How did you get the transit to lay out the week like that? Because I have the transit, you know, in my body graph as well, but I don't know how to do that.
Well, you just scroll down. Up.
Oh, and it's just there?
Yeah,
oh.
You just scroll down. Yeah. So instead of, you know, if you click on the gates, on the sun, so you're gonna have, you know, all the description and blah blah blah. But if you just close it, so on the crossing up, you close it, then it puts the dates up, and you scroll down. You scroll down and you click here on transit tool, right?
Okay.
So you may have this view with all the planets, but you want to close the planetary activation and you want to click here on the transit tool, and then you scroll down and you have, and then you can choose, you know, the view on the day, the week, or the month.
Thank you.
Yep, for sure. All right, so let's talk about that. So we have the sun that is just entered into the 5th line for the gate 27. What does it say? The executor, the ability to distribute effectively the resources of others, the power and strength to care for the resource of others. Well, yeah, 5th line day for the rest of the day, which is having an impact in stranger, sharing a message, the executor here. So we have this ability to distribute correctly, effectively resources for others. That's what we're doing here. And on the 28th, treachery, the abuse of trust, the intuitive capacity of the game player to provoke struggle amongst others. It's kind of what we have been doing too. To provoke a little bit people, everyone, to provoke a response, an intuitive response from all of you, and to say, okay, enough of all of this. I want to care for what is worth fighting for, right? And if we take a look, okay, so Tuesday, we will have a change and the sun will go into the gate 24, sun, which is the return, the rationalization. And the 24 is actually activated at the moment in Uranus. And we will have the Earth in 44, which is the gate of alertness, being alert, intuitively aware of what we choose to transmit. What do we want to continue to transmit? What do we choose to transmit? So that's going to be on Tuesday, and that's the energy that is coming. So expect some really good aha moment starting from Tuesday for a week of, you know, oh, wait a second, this is my truth. This there that I've been listening, oh, that's not my truth. Goes back to who do you listen to? All right. Anything else to say? Anyone want to say something? Questions, comments, observation? Julie or Charlotte? Who else? Cecile, Christy, Laurie, Kim?
Well, Ben, actually,
Yes.
I did have one quick question.
Yes.
So I've been using those oils, and a lot of times I just kind of listen to my body. But when you're looking at the transits, I mean, I don't really want to make a big like science out of it. But is there like if I really do feel like they help me, especially with the affirmations that came with the little book.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at the transits, I mean, does it really matter? Like today, the everything's kind of open. It's just kind of like going with like your gut, right?
So I usually go with the sun. You know, I look at the sun, and for example, today it's the sun is in 27, so nourishment. So I'm like, what do I want to continue to nourish? Which part of me needs more love today? You know, so I'm working with the oil on, like, I may use the first one, which is trust. So I want to nourish more trust more trust with myself. Or, you know, maybe the throat. So I want to work with the 7 oil, which is going to be expressed for the throat, because I want to nourish maybe my communication, you know. So you can go like that. Yeah. Tom, anything you would like to say, to add before we close?
It's interesting that trust is mentioned in the 28th hexagram, which is called treachery.
Yeah.
And people think, oh, I don't want treachery. I don't want to be treacherous. We moralize everything, good, bad. It's not good, bad. It's, is it or is it not? Okay. So treachery is what Christy was referring to early when she said, a lot of my friends are just kind of falling out of my life. And they think, what did I, and they may be saying, what did I do that I'm not a part of her life anymore? It's not about any of that nonsense, okay? It's that when you move along the path and those people don't move with you, there becomes a distance between you. It's not like that distance can't be made up for at any moment based upon decisions of those two people, okay? But you're not going to stop your own progress because other people are not receptive to it, okay? And if you're choosing to store your treasures in different values, you'll notice that, well, there's going to be a separation, or there's going to be space in between you, but it's about the difference in values, okay? We're looking for values. Interesting how the distribution of the resources of others, and then how is that grounded? Trust, okay? Think about that. It'd be Groundhog Day if you achieved all kinds of things in the world and then they just disappeared when you went away. There's going to be a lot of residual energy that has already been accomplished. So you hire a trustee to be able to distribute those resources to the things that you value after you're gone. Not like there's anything right or wrong about it. It's just a good idea. You know what happens if you don't take care of your resources when you leave here? Goes into the state slush fund. They build more bombs with it. So, you know, what would you like to do with your resources? I mean, after all, they're your resources. And then, of course, how did you get those resources? I mean, there's a lot of information in there. We could have a whole class on that, okay? But we are here to distribute resources. That's the problem we have, the gross distribution of resources based upon values that do not bring us to purpose. They bring us to battlefields. We're tired of battlefields. We think there might be another purpose for human beings rather than we be the best destroyers of ourselves. Maybe we could cooperate and do a lot better. You see what I'm saying? And all that's going to be based upon changing your value systems. We think we're going to get ahead of somebody. Who the hell are you going to get ahead of? Aren't we all on the same round ball being hurled through the same region of space at the same rate of speed? Who do you really think you're going to get ahead of? This is not about being, you know, homeless and peasants, but it's also not about being kings and queens that force other people to be homeless and peasants. We all get in the boat and paddle at the same rate of speed. We're going to get where we're going. That's really what that whole executor thing is all about. There's so much here. And the first thing people do with human design that's a new concept is they moralize it. I like it, I don't like it. Not a question of whether you like it or whether you don't like it. It's a question of whether it's valuable or not. And that's all based upon the values that you have accepted. And I think quite a few of us are a little bit irritated with the values we've accepted because we see the results of it. So we're looking for better values, and that's what's coming. I mean, what an exciting time to be alive on this planet. We have a new species coming. We have a new awareness operation operating in a way that we've never seen before. You'd be surprised how fast this place can shift. And it looks unshiftable at the moment, doesn't it? Nah, it's always darkest just before the sun comes up, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. So, you know, it's been great. I so appreciate everybody else having a voice in this. This is what Sunday is. Sunday is a coming to meet. It's not a class. It's not a lecture. And, you know, we generators, sometimes we just don't know. And when we talk to other people, we find out.
That's why I love so much sometimes to just sit and wait and be patient and see what comes to me, because the more we are in a rush trying to initiate, the more we're missing the point, because we can't allow ourselves to just respond. And I mean, I know so many people who have been studying design like insane, but they still don't get the point of being a generator. You know, they want to know everything, especially the first line. They are paranoid and insecure and trying to dig into everything, investigate everything, but they miss the point of living it, of just waiting to respond.
You know what Ross said with the exalted state of a generator is? When he says, I don't know.
I don't know.
Then he's receptive to what's going to come to him, and that's when he gets his power. Nothing gets in the way of the truth more effectively than a belief. Could we suspend belief and stay in observation? We might actually see what's going on if we're in observation. But if we think we know everything, well, hope your little universe doesn't get so small that it squeezes the life out of you, because it will. You don't know everything. I'm sorry. None of us know everything. Don't set that up as a goal for yourself. Yeah. There will come a point in time when there will be the end of learning.
Totally.
But even then, you won't know everything.
Yeah, and look at what's coming. Look at what's coming next week on Tuesday. The Earth will be in Gate 44, coming to meet.
Yes.
So you know that's exactly what we're doing. We're coming here all together to meet one another. And that's why I love Sundays. They are casual Sunday. You know, you can come in pajama. You can come wherever you are, however whatever you are, whoever you are. You just come the way you are. You know, it's kind of like McDonald's here. Just come as you are.
Coming to meet is the gate of alertness. When did tribes become alert? When they came to meet. That was the tribal gathering, coming to meet. This is what we do. We come to meet. We giving and receiving are one. What we offer to someone is what we get to live with. What we withhold from someone is what we don't have. Even if you have it, you don't enjoy it. There's a whole different way of thinking about all these things. That coming to meet, the gate of alertness. You come to discover you're not alone. Oh, I can learn something from these other people. I can teach them something. This is cooperation. We've been in a competitive world for long enough, haven't we?
Oh, amazing. I love it. Okay, let's end with that. That will be the tone for next Sunday, next week, the Gate 44 in Earth, how we will ground the sun energy, the return of the inner truth. It will be through the 44. The success of any interaction is based on the absence of any precondition. I mean, how amazing, exquisite. It is.
Definition of receptivity.
Yep. All right. Thank you to all of you. That was Tom and Ben for the transit. I'm very glad that we had all of you. For those of you who have been watching the recording on YouTube, thank you so much for watching it. If you guys are interested in joining the Hub 27, the link will be in the description. Again, I wish you an amazing Sunday to all of you. A lot of love to all of you. Thank you for being here. And Tom, I give you the final word of the end before we close.
It doesn't have to be the final word, but it's worthy. This, what we are doing here, is the only thing that is on YouTube or any other thing available to the collective about human beings interacting with one another about design. All the rest of the stuff is somebody standing there preaching. Maybe it's a good preach. Okay, fine. But it also is very valuable for people to see this interaction of this experience we call coming to meet. That's why this is an informal Sunday, so we can all meet one another. Okay. Have fun, boys and girls. It was lovely being here. I can't imagine being anywhere else.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye,
Bye,
guys.
everyone.
Love you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
What a happy bunch.